Hey, it's Cobra here at MaddenGuides.com, and we've got a play that we want to show you that's out of the gun bunch. And the name of the play is called Trail, and this particular play uses the Texas passing concept, which makes it pretty effective against several coverages that are found in the game. So for this particular video breakdown, I want to run through some of those coverages that you can run this against and have some success with. So let's go ahead and get on the field and just take a look at the pass routes by default before we do any adjustments or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get on the field and take a look at them. And with this particular play, as you're going to see here, you're going to have four receivers going out, and at least by default. And here's the four receivers. So we're going to start off here on the left-hand side. So what you'll have is this receiver right here as you look at your screen, which is going to be, we're just going to call him the split end. He's going to go up the field. He's going to round up about 12 yards down the field before breaking out towards the left for an out route there as you look at. So it's basically just a deep out route with a round where he rounds it off. That's basically what it is. Okay, so if you work your way over here towards the right side of the field, you've got this receiver here, which is the tight end. He's the play's primary receiver. He runs an angle route, which is pretty nice, pretty effective against this type of coverage. And then we also, or at least some of the coverages that you'll find that we're about to attack here as far as with this breakdown. And then the slot receiver, he's going to go ahead and run this little crossing route underneath here. Now, I'm going to kind of walk you through this in just a second as we go through this and show you what that route does and what it does to help get the tight end open. And then if you look to the outside, the flanker, he runs more or less a post route into this area here. And his route's pretty effective against any type of particularly cover two type coverage for the most part, although you may not always get it in there because it's depending on how tight the coverage is. And then in the backfield, you got the running back. He's just going to stay in the pass block. A lot of times with this particular play, I like to go ahead and send him out mainly on a left swing route or something where he goes out just to give me another receiver to look to throw to. All right, so that's with the pass routes by default. If we go ahead and look at the defense that we're going to start this off with, we're going to run this against cover 4. And what I want you guys to do as you're watching this breakdown, I want you guys to go ahead and focus in on this linebacker. If we were to look at him, you'll see that he's dropping back in the hook zone. So earlier I mentioned that this receiver, I'll just go ahead and show him to you again. This receiver right here, I mentioned to you that he runs a route, a shallow crossing route. And I want to show you what his route's going to do as you watch this particular breakdown, at least against this particular formation and coverage. So what he's going to do is he's going to come across, correct? That's what I showed you earlier. That's what I talked about. His route is designed to go ahead and get this defender here. Remember I talked about him dropping back in the hook zone? He's going to kind of slip over into this area here, and then as that receiver comes across, which is going to be, as it's coming across here, you're going to find that that receiver is going to be open because this defender, as I just talked about, let's go ahead and kind of go back in here again. So this receiver, as he comes across, he's going to be coming in this area here, and I mentioned that this defender is going to come over in this area here. He's going to come back and chase this guy across the field as this receiver comes across into this area here. So he's going to follow him. And then what that's going to do, at least against cover 4 coverage, this trail route that's ran by the tight end is going to get open where as I'm dropping back my quarterback and looking down the field, I'll be able to see that this is wide open. There won't be anybody in the middle of the field. And then I'm going to go ahead and be able to make that throw into this area here and complete it for a nice gain. So that's what you're going to see against cover 4. So let's go ahead and run the play and see if it shows you exactly as I drawed it up. I am going to go ahead and put the running back on a hot route to swing route to the left. And then the other thing I like to do with this particular play and formation, a lot of times I like to go ahead and motion him out, which is going to be the flanker outside. And you'll see why, especially against cover 2-man press coverage. So we'll see that here in just a bit. Let's go ahead and motion him. And let's see if it does exactly as I drawn this up. And then you'll see that guy gets wide open where I'm able to make that throw, and that's to the tight end. So exactly as I drew it up on the screen there, that's exactly what you just saw as far as with the play and the way it ran. So hopefully we'll kind of give you a thing. So again, I talked about this route coming across, drawing that defender here into him, which is what you saw there. And then I talked about this guy, this tight end, getting open where I can make the throw to him into that area there. So that's what you just saw with that particular play, at least against cover 4. All right, so let's go on to our next coverage and kind of walk you through that one. And we're going to do this against cover 2 man. Now, again, I'm going to draw this up a little bit and kind of give you an idea of what this is going to do. So here's that defense. Here's the cover 2 man as you look at your screen there. You can see on your screen, cover 2 man. So let's go ahead and just draw it up here so you guys can see what's going to happen. So we're going to go ahead, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do our motion here. We're going to go ahead and motion this guy out. Again, that's the flanker. Snap it sometime in that area there. And this is going to allow him to get off the line of scrimmage without being jammed, and then he's going to cut towards the middle of the field. And a lot of times against cover 2 man, for one thing, he's going to get off the line of scrimmage without being jammed, and then he's going to split these 2 safeties. And then we're going to find him open deep down the field for a nice pass. On top of that, we talked about this tight end. He's going to come underneath in this area here. He should be somewhere in this area about the time that I make this throw deep down the field. So you're going to have 2 options. You can look to throw to this guy or this guy. If you got an elite tight end, he'll probably get a little bit more open than what the Saints Cook does with this particular play that I'm showing. But just keep that in mind. But that guy right there is going to be open against this particular coverage deep down the field, providing that you got enough time to make the throw. So let's go ahead and run it. Same thing. We'll send him in motion. Now what you're looking for is just to get a little bit of separation there where you can make that throw in there. And hopefully you got a good receiver, in this case Thomas, who can make that catch. And that's what you just saw there. So again, what I just did when I went ahead and put that on the telestrator on the screen and drew up the play and kind of give you an idea what was going to happen, that's exactly what you just saw here. So again, here it goes. Got all kinds of guys open. Both these guys are pretty much open. The tight end and as you're looking at this, the tight end is open right here. As we wait a little bit longer, then the next receiver is going to be open as well. Probably, in all honesty, tight end probably is who I should have thrown through to. If you look at the distance here between the two different defenders here, that's kind of unzoom. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to zoom in that far in on that. But if you look at the 2 defenders, this guy's a lot tighter than this guy. So probably I should have threw to him versus throwing to him. But that's who I went to, and that's who I threw to. But just keep in mind, those 2 guys are generally open. Now, if I were I want to rewind this one more thing because I want to show you. I'm talking about the running back. Let's run this play. But with the running back being hot routed on the swing route, as you watch, I just want to show you guys something. Look how that defender out there, which is this guy right here who's in man coverage, he clears out and he gets out of the way. Let's see what happens here, because certain defenses, it's going to depend on the coverage. He may become and somebody that's going to play over the middle. Let's make sure we're in cover 2 man, which we should be, which we are here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same motion. I'm not really worried about throwing the ball here. I'll just look to throw to the tight end this time. Mainly I want you guys to focus in on this defender here. Actually, he's hot routed the running back. I didn't want to do that, so let me go ahead and unhot route him. All right, so now he's not. I just want you guys to watch this defender here and see what he does with the halfback staying in the pass block. So let's go ahead and send him in motion. And see how that, you can kind of see it. Actually, they jumped in front of that one, but a lot of times that tight end's open. But that's not really what I wanted to focus in on. What I really wanted to focus in on, and this is the reason I like to send my halfback out in motion. See how he stays in? Now he's in QB spy. And that just gives me a whole nother defender as you're looking at your screen here. This gives me a whole nother defender now that I got to worry about over the middle of the field. And I just don't like that. That's the reason I send the running back on a swing route out towards the left side of the field. All right, so those are 2 different coverages, cover 2 man and cover 4. Let's go ahead and look at another one. And let's go and look at this Tampa 2. I'll tell you, Tampa 2, in all honesty, is a little bit harder to throw to, especially with the deep receivers, because the one difference here is with Tampa 2 versus cover 2, like a normal cover 2, this guy sinks back. And it kind of takes away some of those routes that we're looking to throw to. If he was to stay up here, then it would be a lot easier to make those throws into this area here. But the fact that he drops back, then it makes it harder to make those throws. But let's go ahead and do it anyways. And go ahead and do this. This is going to be kind of a forced pass, which I'm going to be trying to get in here. And you got to put that right in between those three defenders. And let me just say something. You can make that throw. Just know if you don't have a good receiver, there's a good chance that he's going to drop it and he's going to get leveled, to be honest with you. He's got three defenders because you're trying to drop this into three defenders over the top. And it's just a difficult pass. The one that you might be able to throw to is this guy right here. You might be able to dump it off to the tight end. As you look at your screen, you might be able to dump it in this area here. But if you're going to throw it, you got to get it in between these two guys, and you got to be timed just perfectly. Here, I went ahead and tried to put it over the top of three defenders, which that's a tough pass right there. But if you got a good quarterback and a good receiver, you can get it in there. So just keep that in mind. The other options would be, you probably already can figure this out for yourselves. If you don't want to risk throwing those deeper throws, then you do have this underneath pass against Tampa 2. So if you see the linebacker dropping back, and you see these two, and you see him dropping back, and you see these two safeties splitting out wide, then if you don't want to get too crazy, you're better off just going ahead and dumping it underneath to this guy here where it's safe, and just pick up 5, 6, 7 yards, maybe even more depending on what you can get after the catch. So that's against cover 2 zone coverage, Tampa 2 in particular, that we ran this against. And then finally, the last coverage I want to talk about here, we're going to use this against cover 3 sky. So let's go ahead and look at this one. And as you look at it, there's cover 3 sky. Against this particular coverage, it's a lot like cover 2. It's gonna be difficult to make that deeper throw. I wouldn't even think about throwing it to the outside receiver because you got a guy playing over the deep middle. What I probably would look to throw to is either the tight end or the receiver underneath. So let's just go here. And if you can get it in here and wait long enough, now the tight end will get open at some point as he comes across on that angle route. The problem is you got to have enough time to throw it, and that may not always be an option. And that's the one thing about this particular play is that you have to have the time because it's going to take at least 5 to 7 seconds for him to run his route. So he's going to come. He's got to go all the way over here, come across, work his way across, and get somewhere open over there. And then hopefully, as you're dropping the quarterback back here, you'll find him open where you can make that throw deep down the field. Don't always think that's going to be there because you may not have enough time to throw it, especially if they've got an elite pass rusher and they get off these edges quick, you may not have that much time. So the safer option would be to go ahead and just look to throw it underneath. And in this area here, let's go ahead and rewind it here. The safer option would be maybe to look to dump to one of these guys here that you got, because those are really the only two guys you're really going to have a really good option to throw to if you don't have enough time. You can see this guy, he's never going to be open against this coverage. He really is not. So that's the outside receivers. The longer you wait, I mean, I wouldn't even make that throw there deep down there. So the best options, those two underneath ones, though you can look for the tight end if you have enough time to throw it. So with that said, I just kind of wanted to run through this play with you, at least some different coverages, 4 different things you got to look to throw to as far as the receivers. Generally, it's the 2 receivers that work in the middle, either the tight end or the outside receiver. Obviously, the receiver running underneath, the slot receiver will be open in most cases if you have to dump it off. The running back might be another option, especially if they do some kind of cover 3 blitz or something like that and there's nobody covering the flats. Someone else you can look to throw to. So just keep that in mind. All right, so the name of the play here is called Gun Bunch Trail, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video breakdown right here at MaddenGuides.com. Hey Madden gamers, if you enjoy this Madden video or any other video, please subscribe to the Madden Guides YouTube channel. And as always, thanks for watching and for your support.